Okay, this is my grandmother Hunt,
Lutetia.
my father's mother, Lutetia,
Mm-hmm.
and this is my grandfather,
John Hunt.
John Hunt.
Wow.
He was Estie's father. This is John Hunt's first wife, Lenny, who died in 1897. And this is Basil, was her son, who died in 1914. So he was a stepbrother to Estie.
Basil was actually a half-brother, right? Yes.
Ithamar Hunt was the father of John Hunt and had many children, but John Hunt is the only one who was buried here on the same cemetery plot, which raises, there must be a story to that. I don't know what the story is.
Mm-hmm.
And John Hunt's first wife and John Hunt's second wife are both buried here also.
Right, and his first wife passed away.
Passed away.
Do we know what from?
No, I don't know. And Basil passed away when he was 21 years old, and I don't know what he passed away from.
Yeah.
And then John Hunt married Lutetia, who's my grandmother, who's the one that I knew really very well. I'm just making note of the fact that the Hogates, who are buried here in the East Cemetery, very close to the Hunts, are relatives of ours, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And that was in 1946, and then when Henrietta died, I was pregnant with David, and they, I'd had all these miscarriages, and they just told me I couldn't travel.
Oh. Okay.
This is Lutetia Hunt's home. This is where John and I would go to visit her, and we went fairly often.
And this was after her husband passed away when, of course, she was older.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And had moved off of the farm because they had lived on a farm earlier.
Yes, but I don't know if she came to... this is the puzzle, because it's a very humble home. There was a swing on the front porch, and we would often sit on the swing. She was very religious, but she was mad at the churches, so she never went to church.
So she was devout. She was devout without church.
She was devout without church.
Right. And
she is the only. She talked to us, and especially me, because I was older, I guess, about religious matters.
Do you remember something specifically? Or just sort of a feeling of her devotion and dedication?
A feeling of her devotion and dedication that she was actively trying to pass on to me.
Right.
Which I was not getting, which I didn't get from many adults.
Interesting.
She was really the only one who tried to make sure that
was instilled in you.
Right, right. And every time we left, we'd go down those steps, and she would tell us not to drink our bath water. And we would all have a big laugh about that. And John and I still laugh about that. We still say that to each other sometimes, because she did have a sense of humor.
Oh, that's great.
And she's the one that made persimmon pudding like it was a cake.
Oh, okay.
that you cut in slices.
Uh-huh.
And when it was in the fall and the persimmons were available, she always made us persimmon pudding.
Oh.
And she wanted us to tell her that it was better than Henrietta's pudding, which was not the same recipe.
Oh. Got it on, Larry?
When I was in the 7th grade, this is the house that John and I were in when Daddy died.
Wow.
There used to be a barn back here. It's gone,
Well,
right?
It's like a deck or a swimming pool.
The barn's gone. Well,
Right, yeah. There's some sort of...
that was the barn when I disobeyed her.
But she came out and sat on you?
And well, I had a hissy fit because she was scolding me for not minding her.
Uh-huh.
But she sat on me and calmed me down, which I probably needed. I used to go over there and it was sad.
And you sat there?
Sad.
Huh?
I used to go inside and smell the urine and
Oh, my.
see the poor thing.
Oh. About this house, Mom.
This is Ruth Ann Hunt's house, and when the tornado came through
On Easter Sunday.
on Easter Sunday, John was playing here with Ruth Ann. I think he was kind of sweet on her,
Oh.
and we still talk about her and wonder whatever happened to her, but we don't know.
Is she a relative?
We don't think so, or we don't know so. We don't know.
But her last name was Hunt.
Right?
Well, that's probably a relative.
Probably is.
Yeah.
Probably is. You know.
And so she was across the street from Henrietta,
Right.
who you lived with.
Right.
Okay.
Well.
Very, very interesting. Okay.
So
This is
again-
the Washburn house. And it was next to Henrietta's house where they lived.
And Johnny Washburn was a really good friend. He played with our Johnny,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And there was a young girl that I didn't know real well, but when she grew up, she came to the IU Medical Center, to the nurses training school for nurses,
Mm-hmm.
and she was 2 years behind me there.
Wow.
And I went down to meet her in her room. And what do you know? She had a roommate that was named Lois.
Oh! Lois Tharp?
Yes, Lois
Oh,
Wilson.
who became Lois Tharp?
Who became Lois Tharp.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's where I met our Lois Tharp.
Oh my goodness.
I can remember that very, very well. They were roommates when they were freshmen. Right.
Okay.
Right. And she moved to this house, I think, from the big house that she raised the children in.
Wow.
And she kept college girls upstairs in those 2 rooms up there.
Oh,
she
from
kept
Central
boarders.
Normal.
She kept boarders from Central Normal there.
Wow, can you believe that?
Yeah.
Larry, that's
So-
in the family. And
It
your
is.
mom did the same thing right there?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Mom. This is the Washburn house.
This is the Washburn house, and he was a widower, and he was a state policeman, as I remember.
Wow.
I don't know how he. I always pondered how he took care of those children, and I never knew.
And then it was right next door to Henrietta, who was
right.
taking care of you.
Right.
Okay. So,
This is Henrietta's house. It was a double once upon a time.
Still is.
And my grandfather Hunt, John Hunt, died in this left-hand side of the house when I was about 3 years old, I want to say. I hope that's correct, because I have a memory of it.
Wow.
They brought me to see him right before he died, and I
Wow.
think I was about 3. Oh.
Oh.
This is... She was divorced from Jasper William.
Henrietta was divorced from Jasper Williams, okay? And she walked you...
But she wanted me to meet the Half-Acre girls because they were my age.
Okay.
So she brought me down. She brought me out of that house, walked me down. I just want to show you because it was a very magnanimous thing to do in that day and age, particularly because the Half-Acre girls were related to the Thompsons, to Jasper William.
Huh.
Yeah. Sorry, Larry.
It's okay, no problem. So she walked you down here.
She walked me down here. Oh gosh, now they put up a fence. Okay, there was no fence. There was a back door.
Oh.
And we went in the back door. Larry.
Wow.
And I met the Half-Acre girls. And okay, and
Is it this blue house right here?
yes,
Okay.
it's blue now. It
Yeah.
wasn't then. Can I go 2 ways here? No?
Looks like it.
Huh? Do you think so?
Yeah. I think so.
And this is where the sister of Big Sam Thompson lived. Sam Thompson, who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Uh-huh.
This is where his sister lived, and she was raising the Half-Acre girls.
Oh.
And her name was Anna Blair. And she
was raising the Half-Acre girls. Wow.
Right. And
A
there
lot
was
of people raising kids that weren't necessarily their own kids.
right,
Wow.
right.
Ernestine was Anna Blair's daughter?
Yes,
And Anna
So-
Blair was the sister to...
Sam
Sam Thompson.
Big Sam Thompson, who's in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh my goodness.
And Aunt Jessie lived in that house too, and she made hats. She was what do you call it?
She made hats?
She made hats. She
Yeah.
had a room. She had that front room there,
Right? Oh my goodness.
and sold hats for a living. You know,
Oh, how interesting.
and
Yeah, I forget what you call that.
there's a name for it.
Right.
That was a very interesting household, and I liked them all. And then later in life, you may not remember, I became, when we were in Winchester, connected with Louise, and that's a whole other story. Louise Half-Acre. Louise never married.
Oh, really?
She had a lot of issues.
Oh, I remember.
Remember Louise?
Yeah.
Louise Half-Acre? Okay.
In Winchester, she smoked?
Oh, I'm sure she probably did.
Yeah. I mean, didn't she get really sick from smoking?
Yes, she was very, very sick.
Wow, Mom. So you
Yeah.
were friends with her in your old ages?
In my, really.
Oh my God. That's
Until she
amazing.
died.
Yeah.
She was highly, highly respected in town.
And raising those girls.
And raising all those girls who their mother, I don't know what happened to their mother and their
Wow.
father. It was not a pretty story. Well, this is Grandma Miles' house. Grandma and Grandpa Miles. He was living too when I came to this house, and they were the parents of Dora, Aunt Dodie.
Okay.
And so when Harold and Dora came to Danville to visit all of their family, all the Miles family, this is where they came. This is where they stayed. She was sweet as she could be. He was. I can see him sitting on that swing. That's what he did all day long, as far as I knew. She was sweet and kind and a great cook, and
just like her daughter.
Yeah. This is a picture I just found down in the basement that I just thought was interesting, because here is Grandma Miles, sweet as she can be. But this picture was taken, they're in the same pose here as they were there when they were young, and this is when they were old. And I don't know any of the other women, but it's an interesting picture.
Yeah, look at the clothes. Look up, look up front, Larry. Look at the first one.
The difference, the difference.
That's when they were older.
Right.
The clothing is so totally different from when they were all younger.
Right.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe how differently they dressed. That is really remarkable.
That would have been a chore to dress that like that, wouldn't it?
Yes, they look pretty good though. Okay, who's that?
This is a historic picture. This is John's birthday. Oh dear, which one? Aunt Dodie came from Cleveland. I think this is Johnny Washburn over here. This is a relative.
In black?
I think so.
In the overalls? There are two boys there. There's
the one holding the airplane is John.
Okay.
John Hunt?
Yeah. And that's Letitia behind him.
Okay.
Henrietta next to Letitia.
Wow.
And that's me.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I was in the 7th grade. And the little boy in front, I don't know who he is.
Maybe Johnny Washburn?
No, I think Johnny Washburn's on the far right. And that's in front of the house on Jefferson Street. And we had this, and Daddy died 3 days after this.
Wow.
I think that's right.
Wow.
That's Elsie and Bub's house. And Elsie was Aunt Dodie's sister. And I've been in that house many, many times. I've had many good meals in that house. It's part of my memory of Danville. Good memory of Danville.
And
Jasper William and William Jasper, and one of them changed their name so they wouldn't have the same name. And this Thompson was a baker, like, made his living baking.
Right.
Had a bakery in the back of the house. Anyhow, they would sit on. Is there a swing? Yep. There's a swing. Well, the swing used to face the sidewalk, and I would pass when I would walk to school. They would be sitting out on their swing, and they were always so nice and so friendly to me. They just. And I didn't know it, but I don't know.
You didn't know you were related?
Well, I guess I was told that I was related, but they were just such nice people.
Wow.
And
okay, so no wonder she was at the birthday party.
Right, 'cause just nice, accepting, loving people.
Right. Okay,
this is Jasper William or William Jasper's jewelry shop and optician shop and what telegraph shop, and
he combined it all.
There was a big fire in it once. I have pictures at home of a major fire that was in it, but this is the location, and it goes way back. There's more
depth to it.
More depth than
it appears on the surface.
It appears, yeah.
Interesting.
And we do have some pictures of it at home. I do.
Inside.
Inside, right. Look different, of course, than right now.
All right.
This was the Thompson house. This is where my grandfather and grandmother raised Ernest and Harold and Irene and Effie and, oh, yes. I think they had a, I don't think it looked really this well, but they all speak.
It looked good.
They all speak really well of their years in this home. And Chautauqua used to come. I've been told about that. Chautauqua used to come and set up tents and have their summer entertainment in this wooded area over there to the left. And Uncle Harold particularly they'd all talk about that. That must have been an exciting thing for them.
Well, yes, Chautauqua was huge.
Oh, yeah, Chautauqua. And back then it was just really a educational
phenomena, yeah.
Right.
And it still is.
And still is. One wonderful thing is that my good friend Jane Ween, it was Jane Ween land. She and her husband bought this house and lived in it for many, many years.
Wow.
And I was privileged to be able to come here and have dinner in the home when they lived here. They took care of it. Obviously, it has been well taken care of all these many years. And
so beautiful.
That is such a blessing to me that somehow that people have cared enough to keep it beautiful.
Yes.
And of course we have pictures in the basement of the family in this home.
Yeah. It's such a unique architecture, the arches and
it's just
porch, and it's very unusual.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right, tell us about the bay window or this side.
We're taking a picture of the bay window because I have been told that Minnie and Roscoe Leake were married at that bay window.
Wow.
And that explains a lot of the closeness that we have to this day with the Leake family. Obviously, they were close to Henrietta and William Jasper, and it certainly bonded us, I would say. And there's
and how are they related, Minnie and Roscoe?
they're cousins.
Wow.
Minnie's. Oh, Carol, I have to work on that. Minnie's mother and Irene's mother were. No, I can't do it.
Yeah, Henrietta and Minnie's mother were sisters. I think that's what it was. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's right.
I have to think. I have to work on that.
So that would be like Kathy and I. Okay.
Henrietta, William Selmeyer is my grandmother's uncle.
Henrietta Thompson's uncle.
Right, and he took her and helped raise her down in Clark County.
And so there were two Henriettas,
his wife.
And then
Henrietta Thompson is buried here.
Right, and that's his niece, actually.
That's my grandmother. She died in 1957, and David was born in 1958, right?
And you couldn't go to her funeral.
I couldn't go to her funeral because I was expecting David.
And meanwhile, she's the one that you lived with in the houses
right.
that we saw earlier.
Right.
So it's,
Right.
she's so important.
Irene, my mother's mother.
Right. Irene's mother. And she
Right.
lived in that big, beautiful house.
Right.
And was married to Jasper at one
Right.
time.
Right.
Wow. Yeah. And that's where
And
Irene grew up.
William and Henrietta came up here, and she took care of them in their old age.
Oh, your grandmother Henrietta took care of William and Henrietta
right.
in their old age because
Right.
they took care of her
Right.
in her childhood.
Right.
Wow, I didn't realize all that.
Right.
Very interesting.
And we're talking about lots and lots and lots of years.
Right.
Um,
So your grandmother Henrietta was the niece of William and Henrietta Selmeyer.
right.
And who was the sibling that made her the niece?
Her
William was her.
well,
Yes, obviously. Her.
her mother remarried, and the second Henry Salmeyer down in Clark County,
Uh-huh.
and the second husband wasn't interested in her,
Wasn't interested. Okay.
and so she went to live with Uncle. It's
Oh,
all written down. It's all
Yeah,
written
okay.
down.
So Henrietta's mother remarried. Uh-huh. And what was that mother's name? That wasn't Wilhelmina, was it? No.
She's. I have to go. I have to go back and look at the.
Okay.
Ernest was one of the children. He died at Central State Hospital. He was.
Right. So Jasper's and Henrietta, your grandparents, had all these children, and Ernest was one of those children along
Right.
with Irene.
He was the youngest.
He was the youngest, and he died at Central State.
Right.
Very young, like
Yes.
31. Gosh, that's sad. Wow.
Oh, I've never. You know what? I've never thought about how young, what age he was. Isn't that interesting? And
Younger than that. What am I talking about?
what?
1906 to 1935. He was 29? What? Ira, was that a sister of Irene's?
No, it was a baby.
Oh,
It was. Well, how old was
Age
it?
2 years, it looks like.
Okay. And the other one, can you read it? Oh, I forget.
the other one over
I
here?
forget his name. He was 6 years old,
I can't read it. Can you, Larry?
Can you read it?
Those.
Was quite. It looks like I've seen yearbooks. I've got yearbooks down in the basement, and Ernest was well. Aunt Effie said he was the brightest of them all, and very, very good looking,
Jeez.
and played basketball, and had a very normal high school life.
So strange.
Right.
So this is Mom's parents, Irene and Esty Eli. They both are buried here in Danville, right down the way from the Selmeyer graves, really directly across to the right from the Selmeyer graves. Irene and Esty. Mom's parents, the Hunts. He died when Mom was 12 years old, and Irene died 40 years later, although she never cared for Mom as her mother after Esty died. And that's when she began, Mom began to live in Danville with so many relatives loving and caring for her. Uncle Harold and she joined all of that family with the Fab Five, with Nana and Uncle Harold. Okay, so here we are at Nana, in other words, Dora Miles, married Harold Thompson, that was Irene's older brother. And after Mom was cared for by all the loving relatives here in Danville, then she did go live with her Uncle Harold and Aunt Dora, who we called Nana. Harold Thompson and Dora Thompson, and became part of the Fabulous Five. She and Uncle John joined that family.
So it's
Thank
got
you,
a
Uncle Harold and Aunt Nana for
veteran sticker on it and a penny down below.
raising them. Finishing fathering and mothering.
See the veteran sticker?
Yeah.
See the penny?
So was Uncle Harold a veteran, Mom? Was Uncle Harold a veteran? Was Uncle Harold a veteran? Did he fight in a war?
No.
No, somebody put a veteran sticker on here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I don't know why that's there. Should probably take it off.
Oh.
It's not recording now, is it, Larry? Yes? Oh, okay. So, Mom, tell us again who Elsie and
Elsie.
Bub. Elsie was Dora's sister, is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
So that's over here, Larry.
right.
Elsie and Bub. Elsie was Dora's sister, and she married Bub. And they were Dora and Elsie were very close. Yeah, that whole, right. And they're buried next to each other. So the other, Dora and Harold had 3 children, and Bill, Jack, and Nancy, and Rick.
Where are they?
They're not here, but Richard J. Thompson, Rick, is buried here. He was their grandson. He was Bill's only son, and is buried here behind Nana or Dora and Harold. Okay.
The reason Rick is buried here is because his mother and father were in military graveyard in Arkansas, and we didn't want him to be alone when he died. He died youngish, and so we brought him up to his grandparents, and so he would be buried with. We had a ceremony, and a very nice ceremony, and there was here and family attended, and we just wanted him to be with family, buried
Right.
with family.
Right. Samuel Luther Thompson. He was born in Danville, March 5, 1860, and educated in Danville Graded School. He played for Danville Browns baseball team in 1883 and for Evansville and Indianapolis minor league ball clubs 1884 and 1885. He played for National League Detroit Wolverines 1885 to 1888 and Philadelphia Phillies 1889 to 1898, and with the American League Detroit Tigers in 1906. Continued on the other side, Thompson and his wife retired to Detroit, where he died November 7th, 1922, buried there in Elmwood Cemetery. Inducted into National Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974 and Indiana Baseball Hall of Fame 1979. Thompson remains first in runs batted in per game, edging out Lou Gehrig, amazing, local ball diamond, and Danville High School award honor this native son.